In British pubs, beer glasses usually hold 1 pint, that's 0.568 liters. In the future, people in Great Britain will be able to buy wine and sparkling wine in pint bottles again as well. As the Ministry of Economic Affairs in London announced on Wednesday, 0.568 litre bottles are approved in addition to 0.2 and 0.5 litre bottles. This applies to pubs and restaurants as well as supermarkets. This would give buyers more flexibility and choice, and the ministry emphasized that the reason for the change was the Brexit freedoms. With the exit from the EU, the industry is no longer bound to EU regulations. In the United Kingdom, pint-sized bottles of sparkling wine were sold until it joined the EU in 1973. Production was then stopped because they did not meet EU weight and measurement regulations, as reported by the British news agency PA. The ministry emphasized that the 900 British wineries were now given more freedom. In addition, 0.2 litre bottles of wine and 0.5 litre bottles of sparkling wine can now be sold, which was previously not permitted. However, there is no obligation to use these sizes. Beer, cider and milk are already available in pint bottles and containers. And Business Secretary Kevin Hollinrake said the announcement would allow producers and consumers more innovation, freedom and choice. Our exit from the EU has been all about moments like this, where we can seize new opportunities and give a real boost to our great British wineries and further economic growth, said Hollinrake. Industry body Wine GB welcomed the move, although I talked about the quality of the wine in the future in another video. Critics, however, accused the government of wanting to use the populist measure in the year of a likely parliamentary election to please traditional voters and to distract from much more serious problems, such as the high cost of living. The Tories are always talking about alleged Brexit freedoms, but there are hardly any real positive changes. Market experts also emphasized that it was unlikely that French, Italian or German winemakers would introduce different bottle sizes specifically for the British market. Wine production in Britain is still tiny compared to countries like Germany, but has grown significantly in recent years. In 2022, around 12.2 million bottles of wine and sparkling wine were produced. That's an increase of 130% compared to 2017. The vast majority of wineries are in England. The industry hopes that Brexit will enable faster growth, and in May the government lifted restrictions that prevented the production of new blends. And bottles are also now allowed to convert imported wine into sparkling wine. Ugh. Regulations on packaging, such as sealing films for certain sparkling wines, have also been ended to allow for cheaper alternatives. However, the government is backpedaling on another point that former Prime Minister Boris Johnson promoted as freedom of Brexit. After careful consideration, they will not initiate legislation to change the units of measurement. The plans would allow retailers to display the weight of their products in imperial units such as pounds and ounces, as they previously did, instead of metric units such as kilograms. And Brexit supporters had hailed the plan as an end to metric martyrdom. But as the Ministry of Economic Affairs announced, surveys showed that 98.7% want to continue using the metric system. The United Kingdom adopted the metric system of measurements in 1965. However, the use of imperial units such as inches, pounds and gallons was still permitted in many cases. For example, road signs were required to be in metric units, but people could still buy food in imperial units. In 2000, the UK government introduced the metrication program. The MP aimed to phase out the use of imperial units and make the metric system the sole legal system of measurement in the UK. The MP was successful in many areas, such as food labeling and road signs. However, there are still some areas where imperial units are still widely used, such as beer and alcohol sales. The UK's exit from the European Union in 2020 did not affect the UK's metrication policy a lot. The UK remains committed to the metric system, and there are no plans anymore to reintroduce imperial units. However, the UK government has said that it will continue to allow the use of imperial units in certain cases, such as in the sale of certain goods to tourists. Brexit, by the way, is a portmanteau of the words British and exit that was marked to refer to the United Kingdom's decision in a June 23, 2016 referendum to withdraw from the European Union, the EU. The UK formally left the EU on January 31st in 2020 after a withdrawal agreement was passed by Parliament. The UK had been a member of the EU since 1973, but there had been growing discontent with the membership in recent years, particularly among those who felt that it was undemocratic and that it had led to loss of sovereignty, which both was BS. The referendum was seen as a chance for the UK to take back control of its own destiny. Well, the referendum campaign was divided between those who wanted to remain in the EU and those who wanted to leave. The Leave campaign was successful, winning with about 52% of the vote, and the reasons for voting Leave were complex and varied, but they included a desire to reduce immigration, to regain control of borders and laws, and to free the UK from what was seen as the bureaucracy and regulations of the EU. The decision to leave the EU has had a profound impact on the UK. It has led to changes in trade, immigration, and the UK's relationship with neighbours, and it has also caused political and social divisions within the UK. The decision to leave the EU was a highly divisive one, and the process of withdrawal has been fraught with challenges and uncertainty. The UK's relationship with the EU has changed significantly since Brexit, and the full implications of this change are still being felt. The UK is no longer part of the EU's free movement of people, which means that UK citizens now need a visa to live and work in the in the EU, and vice versa. And the UK is no longer a member of the EU's customs union or single market, which means that there are now tariffs and other barriers to trade between the UK and the EU. The UK and the EU have agreed a new fishing agreement, but this agreement has been controversial, with some fishermen in the UK arguing that they have been unfairly disadvantaged. And the Northern Ireland Protocol is a part of the UK's withdrawal agreement with the EU that is designed to avoid a hard border between Northern Ireland and the rest of Ireland. However, the protocol has also been controversial, with some unionists in Northern Ireland arguing that it undermines the region's place within the UK. The impact of Brexit on the UK is still being felt and is likely to be felt for many years to come. The immediate impact has been a decrease in trade between the UK and the EU, and there have also been disruptions to supply chains. In the longer term, the impact of Brexit on the UK's economy and society is still uncertain, but we see a lot of negatives here. Some economists have argued that Brexit will damage the UK's economy, while others have argued that it will create new opportunities. The impact of Brexit on the UK's society is also uncertain, but it is likely to lead to further political and social divisions. Brexit is a complex and multifaceted issue with far-reaching consequences. The UK's relationship with the EU has changed dramatically, and the full implications of this change are still being felt. The impact of Brexit on the UK's economy, society, and the political landscape is likely to be felt for many years to come. And if you want to see more right now, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.